Linda, Mary Lou, some of our faithful friends are dialing in. This is going to be an outstanding presentation from Dr. Jauhari. So we're coming right into Thanksgiving. Hi, Yuda. We're coming right into Thanksgiving. And for some people, that's a very happy time to count our blessings and celebrate. For others, it's more of a challenging time, maybe not quite so easy. So we wanted to have this conversation about the happiness factor. And when I met with Dr. Jauhari a few months ago, we had such a lively and animated discussion about the happiness factor because it means something different to everybody. Everybody has their own perspective on happiness. For some, it's quite a deep feeling in the heart and the soul, and that's a direct quote from Dr. Jauhari. For others, it's kind of an elevated, state of mind. If you think about getting ready to go on vacation and you think about all the cool things you get to do, pedicures and manicures and shopping and all that kind of stuff right before you go on vacation. It's kind of an elevated time of happiness. But typically, happiness really is not something that you can buy. I mean, it's nice to have money, but it's not something that you can buy. So in our presentation today, the happiness factor, the 4 pillars of happiness, we'd love to hear from you on how you define happiness too. At the moment, I'm happy to be with you, as I mentioned. And Dr. Jauhari, if you can wave to us, Dr. Jauhari, everybody will see you. There he is. Okay. He is a psychiatrist and he is the medical director of behavioral health at Vanderbilt Webb Medical Center in Sun City West. He has such an interesting background. His mother influenced him tremendously. She was a psychiatrist. His father was military, so they traveled. But it was such a wonderful family influence for him to take this direction. I believe he has 2 sisters who it seems like they're both PhDs and MBAs and perhaps not in the same line of work, but a highly influential family. And we're lucky to have Dr. Jauhari with us today. So during our coffees, just a little business here, we like to remind everybody that we like to keep the background noise to a minimum so that you can hear the presentation. So Joyce will mute everybody. Dr. Jauhari has a fabulous presentation. He's going to cover a lot of areas. So let's hold our questions to the very end, and then we'll open it up for discussion at that time. So Dr. Jauhari, I know Joyce is going to drive the slides here. I will mute myself and Joyce will mute others so that we can hear the presentation from Dr. Jauhari. Thanks very much.
Good morning, everyone. This is Saurabh Jauhari. Thank you, Gina, for introducing me, and thank you, everyone, for joining. And I really appreciate all of you for giving me this opportunity to chat with you, talk with you, learn something new from your experience. That will be, I'm pretty positive that I'm going to learn something, actually not something, a lot of things from your experience, from your perspective of looking into the life and seeing the happiness from a different angle and from different point of view. So with that, without wasting any further time, let's start on that. I will start. The happiness is basically everybody defines in a different way. It's most of people feel like, the happiness is basically a feeling and at a given moment. We do feel happy for a short period of time. It's pretty weird. It's that, you feel happy when you get a job, but after 5-6 months, you will get used to that job. You feel, you start finding some problems here and there. You get married, you will be happy for some time, then you get used to your partners and things will be settled down. So you buy new things, you will feel happy for sometimes, then it settles down. So it's a very big question that what happiness is, or whether it stays with us for a long time, how we can keep ourselves moving with a happy mode kind of thing. Unfortunately, with like computer or like with cell phones, we do not have the modes within us. We do, but we cannot dial in those modes easily. So we just try to look into that at how we can keep ourselves dialing into that mode of happiness and see how the things go. So I kept this presentation into just like few different parts and sections, like what is happiness, what are the 4 pillars. That like different research has been done, different work has been done by a lot of people about happiness. But I feel that in my experience, And what I feel these four pillars, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, are the most important thing for me, as per my perspective. Then why is the happiness important? There are few chemicals has been studied quite a bit in the mental health field, that what are those chemicals that helps you keep going, helps you to be happy. And then what are the keys for a happy living? And then the last thing is the biggest thing is happiness is a choice, or how we can pick the happiness out of all the circumstances. All right. So with that, let's move on to the next slide. All right. So in the field of psychology, if I ask that what is actually the happiness is a positive emotion that is deeper than a good temporary mood. So that is what is differentiated in the actual terms of psychology, that it's not the temporary mood that you get out of buying a good car, buying a good dress for yourself, buying a good watch for yourself. It is basically a positive emotion that stays deeper in our mind. So that is the actual definition in the field of psychology. We can move on to the next slide. It's other ways like sustainable, approachable, and pleasurable. So these are the four pillars of happiness. I want to kind of spend time on these ones each by each. But what I feel that the four pillars of happiness will define on the self, which is basically the individual itself, like how you gather the information from the outside world, how you process it in your brain, and how you reflect outside. So basically, self is nothing. Self, we made computers, we made the laptops, all those things based upon the human experiences. So our brain is exactly like a computer. What we type on the keyboard, it comes on the screen. And what happens in between is the processing of that information from the keyboard, and that reflects on the screen. Same thing with our brain. What we see in the outside world, it gets processed in our brain, and it's reflected in our behavior. So it's a very common thing that we see that, our experiences will define or drive our way of reacting to certain situations down the road. So our brain is exactly like a computer. So self is very important. That's the individual property of of a person, and that we should be proud of it. Whatever way you are, you should be proud of that. But we'll talk more about the self. So I feel that self or the individualism is a very important part of the happiness. The second part is a social aspect of it, how we are doing in the social setting. It doesn't need to that you have to have somebody around all the time with you, but it really how the social life is moving on is very important. We have all seen the recent impact of COVID-19, and all of us have seen how the COVID-19 has impacted us socially. Not one person, every one of us got affected with it in some or the other way. All right. So I feel that social aspect of your life is very important to govern your sustained phase of happiness, not the temporary phase. The next one I feel is your health, which is not only your health, the one surrounding you, the community health. And again, the COVID-19 was a big example of that, that how the overall health of yourself, your family, your community, your country, outside the country, how it's all affected us. All of us were looking into the numbers, how bad the numbers are going on, how the COVID is spreading on, not only in our community, everybody was kind of, looking into the whole world. So that is a big example of how this health part of it affects our happiness. And the last one, which is a controversial, I will say, it's the wealth. Definitely, that's no brainer that wealth or the money cannot buy the happiness, but is it a part of it or it's not a part of it? That's research has been done, different part of it, but we'll talk about it in a bit. So with that, I'll move on to my next slide, which is focusing on more of self. So the self, in the terms of psychology or in terms of psychiatry, is the personality of an individual. And The personality is governed by three different sections of the brain, or three different parts of the brain and the mind, which is one is the id, which is basically the native primitive mind. It wants everything to be done no matter what, how the outer things are going on. So it's just like a child. I want an ice cream right now. If not, then I'm going to throw the tantrum. So it's basically a very native part of the brain that it wants it right now, no matter what, where you are. The second part is the superego, which is like more of a, moral part of the brain that says you can do this, but you cannot do that. So it will govern that part of the brain and the mind, that this is acceptable, this is not acceptable, those kind of things. But the balancing part of the brain or the mind is the ego, which is basically balance out both the superego and the id. So it wants ice cream right now, but superego will say, hey, listen, it's pretty cold outside, it's 9 p.m. at night, you should not eat an ice cream. And the ego will balance out those two things. So that's the way our self or the personality gets built up for the period of time. Majority of the personality traits are built up by the age of 3 years. So there are a lot of things that we already gain by the age of 3 years, actually. But with the given psychosocial situations, it can keep learning new things and keep moving on from there. So that is just the basic background of how we build up ourselves inside our brain. All right, next slide, please. So now focusing on like how the self defines the happiness. So, what all we feel is happiness we can gain it from the outside world, from the outside social things, from outside buying things. We it's an example, like if a child is in daycare and if he sees his parent after the whole day, he gets happy, he'll go and hug the parents. Same thing, if we are feeling very cold and you get a warm blanket or warm jacket, you feel comfortable, you feel happy, I feel good. So this is what we feel, that it is coming from the outside world. And in reality, what is actually happening is it's not the outside thing that is giving you that feeling of comfort or happiness. It is the brain inside satisfaction that is what is governing this happiness. So practically, all of us try to find happiness or satisfaction in the outside world, but basically it is not in the outside world. It is governed by the state of your brain, your mind, your inner self. So this is a big part of it, that whenever I am with my family, with my friends, with my patients, I try to learn something and talk to them about it also. That is, don't try to find the happiness in the outside world. It's all inside you. The way you see the things change everything. So that is one thing. If I want you guys to have something from me, my 2 cents will be focus on your inner self. That is the one that will give you a long-term settlement rather than a brief moment of happiness. All right. There are different emotions: love, joy, gratitude, contentment, sense of well-being. All those things are different. That's a different emotions, but we are perceiving it in the outside world. But what is the brain is doing is that perception converting into an inner level of satisfaction and happiness. So that is what it is. The happiness in the inner self drives the attitude. Okay. So your attitude, your meaning of life, your sense of involvement, all these things are important. They come from the inner mind, not from the outside world that we are doing. All right. I'll move on to the next one. So this is the social life of it, which is basically how you're doing socially. So think about it in a bigger picture. You are an individual living in a different, you first take care of yourself, your inner self. You are getting touch or connected to your inner self. You feel happy from inside, but you go out and meet with a friend or a family who is not doing good. They are in a bad shape on that particular day. Now, your job is not to decrease your inner level of contentment or satisfaction or happiness, what you want to call. Your job is to help out or soothe the other person emotions, and try to impose your level of satisfaction into that person. So that is what the social happiness comes from. We give and take both. Life is always give and take, and that matters at the state of that moment. At times I'm in trouble. I will look out for my friends and family, for my colleagues. Same time, same thing with others. They at times they're good, at times they're not good. But when we are not doing good, that doesn't mean that we are alone. We are nobody around. Look out for good friends, look out for the company that are good, positive attitude that will help you to fight with that. So the social part of the happiness is basically coming out of your personality and not focusing only on yourself. Focus on others and try to help them when they need it, and you will get it when you need it. That's the social part of it. All right. It depends a lot of things like culture, community, society. Thankfully you guys will be, you guys, I'm not sure whether you know it or not, but I just put it there. United States or America has 53% level of happiness among people. That's the research says. And that's not only because they are individually they are doing good or this is the best country to live in. The best part is that all individuals have their right and their way of expressing themselves, and the social, the community will take care of them, and they take care of the community. That's the reason that is a good country, and the level of happiness in this country is 53%, which is the highest among all over the world. All right. And this is not because of the wealth or the money or the dollar amount. It is because each individual has given the respect that they deserve, and that individual has maintained a decorum of the community and the society. So that part that I really appreciate. I moved from India to here, but that's one thing I really learned in the last 20 years of my staying here. So, but continue the good work, continue the family part of it, the community part of it, which is very important. The other part is the equality. We have seen or historically how this has affected the social happiness. We have seen different eras, we have seen different people, we're still kind of fighting for gender equality, for males and females, for age. There should be no differentiation if you're hiring a 30-year-old versus a 55-year-old person. Those things should be minimized as much as we can. Now, the access to resources is important. In the third world countries and in the poor part of the countries, there are not much access. And it is a responsibility of the wealthy or the people who have the ability to help others to redistribute their positive energy, wealth, education to the sector of the society which is kind of deprived from there. This is kind of very important that we keep redistributing the balance of the energy, I would say, of the universe, so that all individuals can be happy in their life. The last one I included is this is kind of interesting, the air quality. Lately we have seen that the air quality all over the world has been improved because of decrease in the pollution. And especially, in the eastern part of the world where it's very crowded and a lot of cars, a lot of automobiles on the road. When COVID happened and there was a complete kind of lockdown, people are not driving their cars, they have seen a big change in their environment. The air quality gets improved, your level of satisfaction goes up, and the overall happiness is going up in those countries and those places where the air quality is improving. So that is our part also, to make sure that we are not polluting our environment. We are trying to continue to make it better for all of us. So this is an important part that I wanted to include in here. All right, let's move on to the next one. Well, that is the health part of the happiness, which is kind of all of us will agree that a healthy body, healthy mind means a happy human. All right. Healthy body doesn't mean that you have to go to gym, you have to make a six pack, you have to make, the biceps or triceps, nothing like that. Healthy body is that you are functional, you have a good quality of life, and you're able to take care for most of your needs. Now, I've seen patients in different status of their physical health. I've seen patients in having a bad asthma. I've seen patients with bad COPD. With after stroke, I've seen patients. So at that point of time, what this healthy body means to them is not to get deteriorated from what they're struggling with. Whatever you have, the medical condition or the mental condition, you have to try your best to have a reasonable quality of your mental health and a physical health. And if you're able to maintain those, that will be able to move on from there. So that was the healthy body and healthy mind means. It doesn't mean that you have to be perfectly fine, perfectly healthy, and you have to be in a sound health all the time. The physical health is more governed by your day-to-day activities, how much physically you're active, how much you're taking care of yourself. Are you watching your health? Are you getting the regular checkups done on time? Are you able to take your medications on time if you're on any medications? So all those things are kind of very important, and that governs the physical health. The mental health is always, I would say, try your best to be in the best state of positive attitude. That's all governs the mental health. You have to definitely take the medications if you're having depression or anxiety. You have to take care of the counseling part of it, that if you're going through any of those situations. But overall, the basic key point is, if you're trying to maintain yourself, that's all the health means for me. All right, no matter what state, what physical health, mental health you are in. But if you're trying, that's the best thing for you. All right. So with that, I feel that is the health part of it. And let's go on to the other slide. This is just what does the happiness affect on the overall health. If you stay happy, if you stay satisfied and content from inner side of your brain, or from the inner state of your brain, you get more better sleep quality. Your sleep will get better. You have decreased level of stress hormones. Your heart functioning will get better. You have enhanced compliance with life events, like you are able to participate more in day-to-day activities. You can go out with your friends. You can go for having a praying for bingo on Tuesdays. You can have a couple of drinks on Fridays. You can attend life events, other life events like having birthday party, marriages, etc. So all those things will get better if you are feeling more happy from inside. The other part is the immune system, which is kind of pretty interesting, that, as we become more happy, our immune system gets better. We have less chances of acquiring any infections, and we have less chances of getting any diseases, or if you already have a disease, less chances of getting it worse, kind of thing, which overall improves the quality of life and increase the life satisfaction. So it's a kind of a vicious cycle. You started having a better attitude, better level of satisfaction, happiness, improves your health. It again increases your satisfaction and quality of life, and it goes back into that cycle again, that you're getting more happier. So that is very important cycle that we have to keep in our mind. And again, as I said, that physical and mental health is just health is your efforts to get better. Just keep in that mind that no matter what, I've seen patients bedridden, and they are trying to at least do something for themselves, like trying to get out of it. So with that, let's move on to the next slide. All right, this is the controversial topic that I was talking about, the wealth. Now, conventionally, we say that money cannot buy happiness, and I will totally believe it. That's absolutely true. And we can debate more upon it later on. But I feel that definitely money cannot buy happiness. They've done a lot of research and a lot of issues, a lot of ways, whether how much the wealth impacts or the money impacts the day-to-day functionality, your capability of buying things, your level of sadness, happiness, your mood, everything. So initially they say that when people are making like $75,000 a year, after that, so let me rephrase it. So if you are making up around $75,000 a year, your level of happiness is the highest. That was the initial research till 2010. And it says after that amount, your happiness plateaus on the graph. So it doesn't matter you make after 400K, 500K, 300K, 2000K, doesn't matter. But in 2021, there's a new study came up that showed that happiness still keep rising with more money. It does not plateau. So it was kind of a different study that they've done. And it came out just in January of 2021. But I still feel that, wealth is not the most important factor for happiness. It's basically how do you how do you invest your health? The same thing, how do you invest in your wealth? That matters. That doesn't matter that you have $1 million in your account, but if they're just sitting there and not doing anything with that, that will not make you happy. You're not buying anything for yourself. You're not giving it to your kids. You're not sharing with your friends. That will not make you feel happy. It will make happy if you at least spend something on yourself, give something who really needs it, and try to make a kind of a reasonable investment in yourself, in your family, and in the community. That's all. The distribution of the wealth is very, very important. That will give you the happiness and a sense of satisfaction. If you see, can you go to the next slide, please? So there is a big research at the Harvard, and they say, what is the right way to spend money? That to be happier. That's the way they're kind of looking into that research. And they say buy time. So say if you're having a lot of money with you and you want to spend some time for yourself to reduce your own day-to-day workload, say you're making 200,000 a year and you want to hire somebody who can clean your house. They can come and clean your house and you pay the money for them. But that time that you're getting, that you are not cleaning the house, you can spend with your child. You can spend with your parents. You can spend with your spouse. You can go to the gym. So that is what they mean by time. If you have more money, then it's better to buy time and save yourself. That is what, as per that research, is a reasonable way of keeping your mood elevated and keeping a higher level of happiness inside your brain. So that is an interesting concept, actually, to buy time and to be happier kind of thing. The other one is spend on experiences, not things. This is a very important thing, that if you're buying experiences like trips, concerts, special meals, then buying materials like gadgets or clothes, you will be more happier. That's a pretty interesting outcome of that research, that if you go to a concert and spend like only 3 hours there versus buying a laptop, you'll be more happier going to a concert. People who went in the same amount of money, in $500 to buy a concert ticket, went out there for 3 to 4 hours. They remember it throughout their life. They keep talking about it, even after 50 years of their life, that, hey, listen, when we went to that concert, how much fun was that? How much we enjoyed so much in that concert. Rather than if you buy a laptop today of $500, you'll not talk about it much about it. And so that's the kind of pretty interesting contrast that they come out with this research, that going for trips, going for concerts, and especially so buying experiences, that experience stays in your brain and your mind for a longer period of time. That will give you a sustained level of happiness over a period of time compared to buying gadgets or clothes kind of thing. All right, can I go to the next slide? All right. The third way is, everybody knows that the donation is one of the part of it. Money can make people happier by giving others. This research has been done in different ways. Different authors have published a lot of articles about that, a lot of people, when they give to others, they feel happy, whether it's money, whether it's time, whether it's their love, whether it's their affection. And money is one of those components in there, that giving others is helpful. But on the same note, they say that, you have to choose what you're doing. Are you giving the money in the right way? Or is nobody should force you to do it. All right. Say if there was a big example, I'm kind of just quoting it from the same article, that if there is your coworker who wants to take money from you or who wants some donation for a pet for the first time, that's okay. Or having some, but if it keeps asking the donation for the same time every year for the same reason, then you will not feel very happy. You'll give it to them, no doubt about it. If you have money, you'll say, okay, I'll give it to you, but you will not feel happier from inside. So that is the difference, that if you are donating money, it should come from your own will. Nobody should be forcing you to do that. And it should be that you should know that your money is invested in the right and the best possible way. That is kind of, it's very important to get happier. Nobody should keep asking you, or you should not just keep writing down the checks for no reason. There should be a reason when you are giving your money away, because that's you who has earned this money. All right. So that's kind of important part of it. Please remember that, do not just donate it without any reason. You should know where your money is going to be. It should be invested in the right hands. All right. Now, just changing gears over here, let's talk about a little bit of the psychiatry part of it, the medical part, how the happiness is governed by different chemicals in our brain. So there are like four primary chemicals. There are a lot of more than, but at least four of them are the primary one. One is the dopamine, the second one is the endorphin, serotonin, and oxytocin. These are the common ones. Basically, serotonin it balances the mood and promotes a sense of well-being. That is the job of this chemical. You'll be surprising to know that serotonin is only 2% in the brain and 98% in the gut. But it is the most important ones to balance out the mood. All right. The next one is the dopamine, which is a feel-good chemical or a hormone or a chemical entity. It activates our pleasure center. It helps to get a pleasure and reward from whatever activities you're doing. So when we are having some pleasurable activities, the dopamine goes up in our system, and that is the way you feel that emotion in our brain. Endorphins are the natural painkillers to reduce the stress. They are the kind of the stress hormones to reduce the stress hormone, and they help reduce the natural pain sensation that we get from different resources, from different stresses. Oxytocin basically promotes the social interactions. It helps to be more socially active. When you are more socially active, oxytocin keeps going up in our brain system. So I just want to briefly touch base on these chemicals. The next slide is how, when you are keeping ourselves physically active, how this chemicals, the primary chemicals for happiness, goes up or down. So if we do regular exercise, the dopamine, which is a feel-good center in our brain, it activates and the feel-good hormone gets more activated. You get more pleasure and you enjoy the life better when you are having high dopamine level. All right. Serotonin reduces the depression. Dopamine goes up, serotonin goes up, so you feel good. And then serotonin reduces your depression or low mood kind of thing. So overall, you're feeling much better with the exercise. There's a research that if you do regular exercise, like 30 minutes a day or 120 to 150 minutes a week, your depression and anxiety goes by itself by 35%, without adding any counseling, without adding any medication. Just 120 minutes to 150 minutes a week, and your depression and anxiety will get about 33 to 35% better. So that's a high impact, I would say, right? Now, endorphins is basically, they have pretty similar characteristics to morphine, and they helps to reduce the pain. They helps to reduce the overall stress in the brain. So they are kind of pretty important. Growth hormones goes up with exercise. Testosterone goes up, so it will refresh your body, aids muscle growth. Insulin and thyroid hormones, so your glucose level gets better, your metabolism gets better. So all of these are the kind of the benefits of the exercise. Let's move on to the next slide. All right. Now, what does these chemicals overall impact and how does it impact us is kind of an important piece. But there are a few other things that without chemicals that what we can see. So first one is the exposure to sunlight. It enhances the serotonin. That's kind of very important. And serotonin helps to have a good mood, reduces the depression, reduces the anxiety, and overall exposure. Apart from the other benefits of sunlight, I'm just focusing on here. How does it make you feel mood? How does it make you feel better kind of thing? Eating chocolate, very good kind of, we know that, for wine and chocolate, there are different research has been done. How does it impact your mood? How does it impact your overall? So it says that, if you eat dark chocolate, 50 to 100 grams, 1 to 2 times a week, it will enhance your coronary health. Your heart will become more stronger. And it reduces the person's chance of an early loss of life resulting from heart conditions. So 50 to 100 grams of dark chocolate, 1 to 2 times a week. If you're not diabetic and if your doctor allows, you can try that. That will definitely help to make you feel better, make you feel happy, and gives a better effect on the heart kind of thing. The last one is eating tryptophan, which is basically a component that is found in different resources, milk, egg, fish, almonds, dates, or different things, cotton cheese, it helps to increase the serotonin and helps to build the neurological processes again so that you feel happy. We see a lot in the stroke patients that they are running on that loss of the neurological processes. And if their other health allows, we ask them to eat more of these sources of tryptophan that definitely helps to make them feel better. All right, the next slide is happiness chemicals. Like I will continue with that. And now playing with pets. All of us love pets. All of us have pets, most of us, what the pets do when you play with them. They give the love and affection to you, you give your love and affection. But naturally, what is happening, it is increasing the production of hormones, the serotonin and oxytocin. Both are going up in our body. And that helps to make us feel better. It's not like we are just playing with them and having the love and affection making us feel better. There is a biological phenomena happening. That is the reason we feel happy with the pets. The serotonin goes up, the oxytocin, which is a social interaction hormone, goes up, and you feel better when you are with your pets. All right. Same thing with hugging, kissing a loved one. The endorphins goes up, it reduces the pain, the dopamine goes up, and the oxytocin goes up. So this is kind of pretty interesting research that, these two things, that hugging, kissing, playing with pets, all of these things actually increases the chemical hormones that helps to fight with the depression, elevates your mood, make you feel better, make you feel more happier on day-to-day basis. You don't have to put any extra effort for these things, right? If you have a pet at home, we can play with them all the time we want to. So that's kind of good research that I like to be included in this chemicals over here. All right, the next slide, please. Oops. I think, can you go back one slide? Yes. Oh, I think I want to stick to the meditation part of it. Just one more slide. Yes, stay here. Yeah. The other part of it, what chemicals can go up and how we can improve our happiness, is the meditation. Big research has been done on eastern part of the world and then the western part of the world. And what they come up with, meditating for at least 30 minutes definitely helps to keep us happier. It decreases the production of cortisol, which is a hormone which goes up in the stressful time. Increases the endorphins, slowing the aging process, strengthening the body immune system, and it helps to adjust the brain waves to get a calm mind for a better night's sleep. That's what it does. So when you're meditating, it helps you to settle down, make you calm, is because there is a natural thing is happening when you meditate. It's indirectly affects the brain processing of the information and slows down the brain waves so that you feel calm. And that has been shown by the research with the EEG and everything, that with the meditating people, the brain waves gets more calmer. Right? So, and meditation is nothing, it's just basically connecting to our inner self. As I started in the beginning, that happiness is a part of your inner self, and connecting to your inner self is a state of your inner mind. meditation helps to control your inner mind. Meditation is not just like sitting and closing your eyes. It is basically you stop thinking about the outside world. You think about yourself and try to be calm at that present moment. All right. Try to connect your inner self. That was, in my opinion, is the meditation. And that was, it helps the best. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Moving on to the next one. I will just keep an eye on my watch also. Okay. So 10 keys to be happier is like giving. It says great dreams, they're making mnemonic for that. It's called great dreams. The G stands for giving, to do things for others, relating, connect with the people, exercising, take care of your body, appreciating, awareness of what you're doing around the world, and trying out. That's kind of pretty interesting mnemonic for me, the great dreams. All right. The next one in slide is dreams. And here, the D stands for direction, doing things towards a goal. Having a goal in life is very important. Resilience, emotion, acceptance that we have all the faults and still we can accept a person. And the meaning of something bigger and deeper meaning of your life. That's important. All right. The next one, please. Well, I'm coming to my last topic. Happiness is choice, and everybody needs happiness. I need happiness. That's kind of part of it. I know that I'm running a little bit behind. It's 10:15 already. So I'll spend just 1 minute on this slide. I need happiness is like, it's a quote from Buddha's teaching that, what he told us that instead of thinking about I need happiness, what you can do is remove the I, which is our self and ego, from your mind and convert into we. Rather than I, think about we. Think about as a whole bunch of people. Think about your social life, your settings. And then the need is the desire. So cut back on the desires. And if you delete I, which will be converted to we, if you cut back on your desires, the only thing left will be the happiness. So that's what his teaching was, and it's a big teaching for him that I need happiness. Yes, you will get happiness. Only change two things, and change your I to we, and the need is a desire. So cut back on your needs, you will left with happiness. All right, very good. The next slide, please. All right, this is all the Buddha's teaching: a disciplined mind, radiating boundless love to entire world, conquer anger with non-anger, and give even if you're little. That's also kind of important part of it. All right, the next one, please. This is from the Bible. I got it that, those who look to him for help will be radiant with joy. And what it means is like, you always have a stronger faith and you believe in a higher power that helps us to keep moving in the toughest part of our life, of our phases, kind of thing. All right, the next slide is just the current slide. And this is the song I want to play at the end. So please go on. All right, thank you guys. This is because I'm happy. If you know what happiness is to you, clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. All right, guys, I'm sorry I went a little bit up on the time, but I'm happy for the discussion.
Yes, Dr. Jauhari, thank you very much. I loved this program. I took a lot of notes. I thought the Great Dreams hint was wonderful. Just really loved that. And happy to know that when Joyce picks out the treats to deliver, it usually has something that can help with happiness, like chocolate. And all of you got this today, her wonderful treat for today. Do we have any specific or general questions for Dr. Jauhari? I saw a lot of smiles on the screen as he was talking about some of these very simple ways that we can elevate our moods. Because, again, this can be a challenging time of year for some people. I know that we have some on the screen today who are going to be traveling to see family, which we coined as the happiness factor. Safe travels to UK. I hope that goes well with your daughter. Any comments from the Heritage? I know we had a wonderful group over at the Heritage in Sun City West who are watching today. I just thought your comments were wonderful. And of course, I think the call to action, as we like to say, the call to action is really to work through your suggestions, thinking of others, removing the I, meditation, finding these different ways to calm the mind. I'm usually running at kind of a high speed most of the time. So these were great tips for me. I love the notion about exercise elevates some of those chemicals. You heard me talking about my dog, Walking Puck. He's kind of homely, but he's a good guy. And right now he's wearing an Argyle sweater. So he looks very handsome in his Argyle sweater. Any other comments from our viewers today? I'd love to hear from some of you, your thoughts. See, we can do and say things to help others be happy. That's a great thing. Jan, you put that through. It's a great thing that we can do, what we can do and say to help others be happy, because often there's a lot of negativity around us. I think perhaps another tip might be to turn off the TV. Don't listen to any of the, sorry about that. I won't get into politics, but.
I have a comment and a question.
Please.
Doctor, for myself, for a number of years, I've decided that my attitude about myself and about the rest of the world and all its aspects, my attitude, if I look as optimistically as I can, maintain hope in the midst of chaos, I find I am more content than I otherwise would be. A sense of happiness, or a mood of balance, that I'm in balance somehow. How important do you consider one's inner attitude?
Well, that's pretty important, John. I'm glad that you are trying your best and keeping a positive attitude. As ourself, the first pillar of happiness is the self. If you have a positive attitude, you can conquer half of the things already. So any kind of stress coming to you or anything, if you have the positive attitude, it changes a lot, right? That's very important, to keep that attitude all the time, no matter what state of life you are. So I've just seen a 93-year-old patient with me, and there's a 90-year-old sitting next to each other. The 93-year-old has such a nice attitude towards life that he said, I'm forgetful. I don't even remember what I ate this morning, but I know that I have ate something good. So that attitude is very important. And the other guy was, having a negative attitude towards life. He said, I'm still, I don't know why I'm still living, and this and that. So I told him that, just a change of attitude is important. Both of you are on the same boat, but he is just happy for what he is getting now, rather than having a negative attitude. So that attitude is very, very important to keep in your mind. I say that once you wake up in the morning, for this happiness thing, have a couple of things in your mind. One, be thankful to God that you are still alive. Right? Second, keep a note that I will try my best to be into my positive note today, positive attitude. And third, I will pray something for some good work that I'm seeing around me. So if you have those three things in your mind, your day will start in a good positive note and good positive attitude towards life.
What great discussion. Thank you. I think, did you say somebody else? Gary. Gary, did you want to say something? Oh, you're on mute, dear. Okay, and then we'll call on Betty Ryan after Gary. Okay. Whoops, Gary. Whoops, you're still on mute. There you go.
Nope,
Nope, not yet.
I'm
I think-
sending a thing. She has to.
Gary, you need to unmute yourself, okay? There you, whoops,
Nope.
not quite.
We wanna go to everything.
Let's go to Betty while Gary's, I'm gonna unmute. Betty, what would you like to share?
Okay, that was such an excellent presentation, and all those suggestions and so forth that we should take to heart because they all work. There's one more suggestion that I read in a little book called Buddhist Boot Camp, written by a young man who is not Buddhist but spent some time with the Buddhists, and a lot of these things that they're talking about here come from that area. At any rate, he said, in addition, in response to the fact that getting a bigger car or a bigger house doesn't make us happy, he said, look at your life this way. Think about baking a cake, and you put in the sugar and you put in the flour, and then you start pulling all kinds of stuff off the shelf, throwing it in there, and you mix it up and you put it in the oven, and what comes out, you take a bite, and it's a lousy cake. And you think, oh, I don't like this lousy cake. So you put a lot of sugary icing on it, and now you take another bite. Well, all you have is a lousy cake with sweet icing on it. So instead, think about your life, about what you're putting into it. Are you putting in jealousy? Are you putting in prejudice? Are you putting all these other negative attitudes? When you take them out of the recipe, then you can bake this cake with all these other positive attitudes.
Wow, Betty, that's great.
Oh, Betty, that's very nice. Thank you for sharing with us. You put it the right way. Very good, very nice.
Very nice. Okay, Gary.
Yeah, it's interesting she mentioned Buddhist Boot Camp. I have that book also, and it's a really neat little book. But I find that if I take the time in the morning to do, I have some spiritual readings that I do that are not long, but if I take time to do them every morning and have just a little bit of quiet time, it just makes my day go so smoothly, and that makes me happy. So that's a big happiness thing for me.
That's very nice, Gary. And what I was talking about meditation is the same thing that you are doing. This is meditation. You're having your own time. You're reading a quiet book, and it's simple phrases, and that's what the meditation is. It is nothing. It is basically you are getting calmer because you are getting connected to your inner self.
Yeah.
You're reflecting those thoughts, what you're reading in your mind, and that is what the connection to your inner self.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, Gary, that was great, because I think we have a responsibility to invest in ourselves. We're a pretty high octane product here, and I think when we invest in ourselves, it absolutely is worth it. And if it takes 10 minutes in the morning, that's only 10 minutes, and so that's 10 minutes well invested. So I think that is a great comment. So Dr. Jauhari, are there any suggestions on how to stay with the meditation? Gary was talking about her readings, and so is Betty about their Buddhist boot camp readings and maybe cake baking or something. But Dr. Jauhari, are there any apps that you can use on your phones or your iPads that might kind of get us going on this?
Yes, I think there are a few apps have been come up for that, and I will send you on the email about those information.
Good. Okay.
And the basic concept of meditation is to get calm from inside, and basically what it is, it's find out who you are and what you want in your life. That is what the meditation should help you. Let's say that even a 20-year-old can do meditation, 40-year-old can do, 50-year-old, 45-year-old, 70-year-old, anybody can do it. But when you're doing the meditation, there should be no stress in your mind. It's just you and yourself. You should know yourself. That's what the meditation is. The process is that you should know yourself. You should able to figure it out that actually who you are. That is what the goal of the meditation is. That ultimate goal of meditation is to find out who you are. All right. And once you find it, you will become more calmer, because you know that, okay, I can do this, I cannot do this, I don't have to worry about that part. Then you get self-satisfaction, a contentment from inside that this is my capabilities, this is my limitations. So you don't get unnecessarily stressed out at, oh, I'm not able to do this and that kind of thing. When I'm seeing younger kids, they're saying, oh, I have to score this much in my exams, I have to pass this exam, that exam. But I first tell them, figure it out actually what is your capability is, and then work hard on that part of it. If you don't know it, then it's difficult to get anywhere in your life. So meditation definitely helps. Sit for like 20, initially when you start meditating, you will sit for some time. You cannot even sit calmly for 1 minute. Your mind will start giving you all the thoughts, what you're going to do next, what is coming here and there kind of thing. Even for 1 or 2 minutes, you cannot calm your mind down. That is kind of pretty difficult. But once you start doing it, you start with the breathing. First, focus on your breathing. You're breathing in and out at least 5 to 10 times. That is important. Because even if you ask some people, like, focus on your breathing, they cannot do it. And that's very normal. That's most of us cannot do it actually. If you try right now, just focus on your breathing, you cannot do it.
That's a great
So,
tip.
yeah.
When we send out the email to everybody with the link so you can watch this again, Dr. Jauhari will provide us with some other tips perhaps that we can include that maybe we didn't have in this today. I do have a question for you so clearly the people who have dialed into this, Dr. Jauhari, are curious and interested and do the work, do the self-work. And I know that you oversee the behavioral health unit at Webb. What is it that we can do to help our friends or neighbors to remove the stigma that sometimes accompanies asking for help? Because I think that is a problem. That's a hurdle for some people to ask for help, to admit that they might need a little nudge. And what can we do to help those who we love or who we know to remove that stigma?
The only thing is the education. We have to tell them that depression is a disease. Most of us still believes that, depression and anxiety is a part of the personality or is a part of an individual. They're not able to cope up with the stress and these kind of things. But I tell them that education piece is that this is a disease because of abnormal chemicals in the brain. So there's nothing to fight without the medications or without encountering. So basically, when I talk to my friends and to reduce the taboo, I tell them that, hey, listen, you consider it as a disease. When you consider it as a disease or an illness, then you will see then you will seek help for it. Yeah. Without that, if you are having diabetes and you're running a high blood sugars, you will not see any doctors until you start having some symptoms. All right. So, but when you go to the doctor, he will say, hey, you have diabetes, you need this medication, you'll take it and start taking it. But everybody knows that blood sugar goes up and down, and that can be diabetes, and people accept it. Now, the acceptance level of mental health is low because we don't understand or do not treat mental illnesses as a disease. That is the biggest thing. That is the ice that we need to break. If we break it, people will be more open to talk about it.
Yeah, that's a great point. I sure appreciate all of your comments today, and I sure appreciate everybody dialing in. This has been an outstanding session. Thank you, Dr. Jauhari. We've really enjoyed that. So we're kind of out of time here, but I have a few more comments to make as we wrap things up. And I think there's Dr. Jauhari's information. Let's scroll through some of the other slides. We have a few other upcoming events. And we're coming to the end of our Generosity for Generations campaign, where we support projects and physicians at the hospitals, Webb, Boswell, our wellness programs, things like this today. So thank you for all of you who've contributed to this campaign and made this such a success. Let's talk about some upcoming coffees with Gina and Friends. So we have one, our December coffee on December the 15th is our CEO, Joe LaRue. And Joe is going to talk about the gift that you have made to this community with your support of superior healthcare at our communities. And then in January, we're going to talk about Medicare. Oh boy. Yeah. So actually, Don Hernandez, and I have met with him because my next birthday makes me eligible to apply for Medicare. I hate to say that, but he is an expert on Medicare. He's outstanding as he does the comparisons and gives guidance. So that will be our January 19th Coffee with Gina and Friends. And then Dr. Pedro Rodriguez, and some of you have used Dr. Pedro Rodriguez as your primary care. Yeah. He's outstanding. He's just incredible. and he leans more towards the holistic side of healthcare. So on the February 23rd Coffee with Gina and Friends, Dr. Pedro will be presenting. And then we have a new orthopedic specialist, Dr. Andrew Chung, a young man who has come to our community to really manage this back pain issue. And he does everything he can to avoid surgery. That will be our March 16th Coffee with Gina and Friends. And I've mentioned to a few of you our Smart Giving workshops. These are in person. Members of our Council of Professional Advisors, our trusted advisors, volunteer their time to talk about taxes, to talk about charities, to talk about making sure your documents are in place. We've done the series here in the Sun Cities area at Grandview and Colonnade, different places. We had our last one just a few weeks ago. We're going to take this into the Southwest Valley in Pebble Creek. So January the 24th, Daniel Esparza, who is a member of our Council of Professional Advisors, will be presenting in Pebble Creek about taxes and charities. And then on February the 22nd, again in Pebble Creek in the coffee room at the clubhouse, Michael Barnes, who is on our board of trustees, as well as he is on our council, he chairs our Council of Professional Advisors. He's going to be talking about, are your plans in place? Make sure you double check your plans to make sure that everything you want to happen will happen. March the 21st, again in Pebble Creek, Mary Kavanaugh Marsh, who is new on our board of trustees, will be talking about a goal without a plan is just a wish. She will give some tips on how to make sure that your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. And then we'll be having our final one in Pebble Creek, the 13th of April. We will be presenting on your best tax year ever. So we have other events coming up. We will send out this information to all of you via email so that you can stay informed, you can stay in tune. We thank you for joining us. Send us your suggestions on topics you would like for us to address. And I hope all of you stay healthy and happy. Dr. Jauhari, hats off to you for a wonderful and outstanding presentation. To our friends at the Heritage, thank you for joining us today. We will be taking Coffee with Gina and Friends on the road, so look for that information. So again, thank you to everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful celebration next week. Count your blessings out loud. So please continue to stay well, to stay safe, and to stay connected. Happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you in December. Bye-bye. Safe travels. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. Very nice talking to all of you.
We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.